You're going to be sharing a screen, Coach, right?
Yeah.
All right. So attendees are coming in. Again, welcome to our second day of our webinar series. And I know everybody stayed for Coach Mike's presentation, but here's another one that I've been following Coach Ryan's journey and all his videos on his YouTube channel, and so much watch. And it's the offense that he's gonna present has been very popular, even here in the Philippines. And I coached against and ended up running similar offense since everybody's running it. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to everyone again this webinar series brought to you by Hoop Coaches International in cooperation with Blackwater Elite. And I'd like to welcome everyone for this second session for the day. And with us tonight is Coach Ryan Pannone. He's the head coach of the Erie Bayhawks of the NBA G League. So he used to coach in Israel, in Germany, and all over. I'd like him to tell his story on his coaching journey. Coach Ryan, welcome, and good evening in the Philippines, and good morning to you.
Thank you very much for having me, Coach. I appreciate it. I started coaching at 18 at the high school level. At the high school I played at, I had some small college offers, but I turned those down to start working in the mortgage industry and coaching. And at 20, I became the head coach of the high school. And I started working with a coach by the name of David Thorpe, who was training NBA players, preparing players for the NBA draft. And so from 20 to 25, I was a high school head coach, and I was working with Coach Thorpe, training NBA players. At 26, I went to the junior college level, and we had a great year. We won our region and went to the junior college national tournament. And then I took a job in China, in Foshan, China. And after my year in China, I came back and worked with 6 NBA players full-time: Kevin Martin, Corey Brewer, Ed Davis, Nick Nicolaitis, Gal Meckel, Omri Caspi. And that was kind of the first year I'd been working with NBA players, but it was the first year I wasn't working with the team and kind of felt strange. So the next year I actually went to the G League as an assistant coach. And from there, I took a job in Germany working for Simon Cody. And I was actually at the same time offered an opportunity to come and be a player development coach for TNT for 8 weeks. And so I was really excited about that, but the two jobs kind of conflicted. So I went to Germany. And after that season, I worked in Korea in the summer doing player development with the LG Sakers and preparing their team. I was there for about 2 months. Then I went to Israel and Hapoel Jerusalem. And we had a great season there. We won the Israeli League Championship and went to the Euro Cup Final Four. I worked for an Italian coach named Simone Piangiani, who's a legendary European coach. And then I took a head coaching job in Slovakia. We had a great year. Also was going to Korea, still in the off season, working with the LG Sakers, and took the head coaching job. We had a great year. Was owed a few months of money, and Jerusalem asked me to come back and work for Oded Katash and be his assistant. So I thought that was a great opportunity because Coach played such a unique style. He played without shooting bigs, played a 3-2 pick and roll motion offense. His kind of philosophy was totally different than mine. In Slovakia, I played with stretch bigs, and we would have been second in the NBA in three-point attempts behind the Houston Rockets if you compared it. And so we played very, very fast, shot a lot of threes, played a lot through a stretch 4. And his style was more play with passing bigs and stretch bigs. So I thought it was a really good opportunity to learn a totally different style of play and philosophy. And so when they offered me to come back, we were recruiting players in the summer. They kept sending me video of big guys to watch that couldn't shoot. And I would just be like, nah, you can't shoot. You need to stretch big. And coach would say, no, stretch big is not important. What's more important for Me is, can we have a big that can pass? Can he make decisions? And I kept telling him, I was like, I don't know, coach, we need to stretch big. And he would always tell me, trust the system, trust the system. And so, we later had training camp and we're putting in the offense, and same thing. We don't have a stretch big. And I'm looking around, I'm like, I don't know. We don't have a stretch big. I don't know about this.
Uh-huh.
We ended up leading Champions League in scoring. And it was an amazing opportunity to learn basically a style of play, because we still scored a lot of points, still took a lot of threes. So it was a modern style of play without modern style players. We didn't have stretch bigs. And coach had been really successful at small budget teams. And as we all know, trying to find big guys, whether it's domestic players or imports, that can shoot the ball from the three-point line, those guys can be really expensive. So how do you develop a style of play where budget-wise or resource-wise you can't have stretch fours that can really shoot the three? And so I thought it was such a unique offense. It gave a lot of teams difficulty to guard because most teams' pick-and-roll defense is now built around having 4 defenders on the perimeter. So you're either tagging from the double side or you're shrinking the floor from the double side. And we really gave a lot of teams problem because we distorted their pick and roll defense the way that they were helping offense. So I thought it was a really good, unique offense. And this year, Hapoel Jerusalem was having an amazing season. They had the greatest offensive season in the history of Champions League. And so it's something we'll get into a little bit later. So I think this is a really powerful, high-octane offense that you can run at all different levels and not need stretch bigs. And as we all know, not every team has stretch bigs. So how do you run a pick-and-roll based offense? How are you running a motion high-paced offense without stretch bigs? And so that's kind of what we'll get into today.
All right, coach. So you go through your presentation now?
Yes, sir.
All right, coach. Yeah, well, most of the attendees are in already. All right, so I think it's a good way to start.
1 second. Slideshow.
There you go.
Okay, so first off, this is my email address. So if anyone has any questions after this, if they want a copy of my presentation, if they want the videos that go along with this, I could share any videos that I have, copy of the presentation. I also have a ton of videos of the top European offenses that a bunch of international coaches are running, a bunch of offensive breakdowns that I've done that include Mike Taylor and Aaron Fern, so high-level coaches. I'm happy to share that also if you just send me an email. But this is the 3-2 pick-and-roll motion offense, the Oded Katesh way of life. And I say the Oded Katesh way of life because everything that you hear when you're in Jerusalem is trust the system, trust the system. And this is the system that Coach Katesh has put together. And for those of you that don't know of him, Oded is considered the greatest Israeli player ever. He played in Panathinaikos, won a EuroLeague title for Zeljko Obradovic, actually signed in the NBA. And, the NBA had a lockout that year, came back to Europe, played, was really successful, ended up tearing up his knee. But was a brilliant player and is a brilliant coach. Okay. So why run the 3-2 pick-and-roll motion offense? Okay. So here's some of the reasons. One, Hapoel Jerusalem had the greatest offensive season in the history of Basketball Champions League last season. Okay, it's a modern style of play without modern style players. You don't have to have stretch bigs. What you need are bigs that can pass. That's the most important part. Okay, this system can fit teams from all different levels, high school, college, pro. I've coached at all 3 levels. It fits all 3 levels. It gets the ball moving from side to side. Multiple players touch the ball, including bigs, and it's a high assist percentage offense. One thing that's really good about the offense is it gives the bigs ownership. As we all know, bigs today want to be guards. right? Every big wants to dribble the basketball. They want to pass the basketball. They want to be a guard. And so what do you do if you have bigs that can pass the ball, can dribble the ball, but they can't shoot? Well, this is a really good offense that gives those bigs ownership. And so I think most offenses that we run as coaches, it gives the guards ownership, right? The guards are the ones that are making all the decisions. And in this offense, it gives the bigs a piece of that ownership. It allows them to make decisions. So it gets them feeling really involved. And you can sell it to them that they can play like a guard even though they can't shoot, right? So you don't have to have this 4-out offense with a non-shooter where even though the big can dribble and pass, but teams are totally going to help off of, shrink the floor, tag off of. So now this kind of allows you to play that style of play where it gives a big ownership. The offense generates high assist percentage, right? Because the ball is moving from side to side, the way that you have to play the offense, it requires the bigs and the guards both to pass. So every player's kind of touching the ball, every player's passing the ball, you're generating a lot of assists. The offense generates high percentage shots, okay, from rim finishes, off rolls, drives, attacking closeouts, and high percentage threes. You get a lot of catch and shoot corner threes off of defensive shrinks from rolls and kickouts. And so one thing that if you learn, I've been studying the value of threes, what threes are valuable for the last 10 plus years. And what I've found is threes off a defensive shrink. And another coach really broke this down a lot that I've spoken to a lot about it, Scott Morrison. But if you take threes off of a defensive shrink, right, they're going to be over 40%. So if you break down threes into 3 categories, good threes, neutral threes, bad threes, good threes being basically off defensive shrinks or transition situations, they're over 40%. And this offense generates a lot of catch and shoot threes, okay, and a lot of neutral threes. And so it's a really good offense that you can have from that. Once you learn the system, all of your plays can flow into it, which you'll see in the videos. And so what we did in Jerusalem, what Coach did is we would learn the motion offense, the basics of it. It's what we ran in the preseason. And then once our players understood it, we would then put in our sets. And I would say 85% of the sets that we put in would end up flowing into the motion offense, which you'll see. But let's say we ran a screen-the-screener action for a shooter. Once that portion of the set was over, it would then flow into the motion offense. And so you didn't have to teach your players all of these different concepts, right? You could teach them quick hitters that flowed into the same motion offense, okay? You can use the same system to attack all pick and roll defenses, including switching, and zone defense. You don't have to teach your players multiple offenses. So if you've got a team that doesn't really remember plays well, it allows them to run this same system and kind of master it. And I think that's one thing that made the offense so good in Jerusalem is no matter how you play defensively, they knew that they could run this offense. And so you didn't have to teach players 100 different plays. You could teach them quick hitters that all flowed into the same motion offense. And then with this offense, you can adjust the rules of the offense to the skill of the players. You can hide a weak perimeter player on offense or designate guards, wings as DHO players or pick and roll players. So meaning this, let's say you got a guard that's not a great ball handler, okay, but he can come off a dribble handoff, receive the ball, and make a decision, meaning he can read. So if you think, right, let's say J.J. Redick, a guy that can come off pin downs, off screens, off DHOs and make decisions, or a J.C. Carroll, right? They're not guys that you want to play out of pick and rolls, but those guys are who we labeled as DHO players. They could come off the DHO and attack the basket, make a simple pocket pass, catch and shoot off the DHO. So if you got guys that aren't really good ball handlers, you can label them as DHO guys. Okay, and then if you have guys that are good ball handlers, good decision makers, they'd be pick and roll guys. Okay, then same thing with the bigs. Let's say you have a super athletic big that's not a great passer or decision maker. He would be your hard roller. In our offense, we had Amari Stoudemire labeled as a hard roller and Josh Owens labeled as a hard roller that then became a little bit of short rolling bigs. And then let's say you have a big that's not a super athlete, doesn't really create an advantage on the hard roll, but he can short roll, make that 15-foot, 4-meter jump shot, can then pass, make decisions, run a second side pick and roll. We would label those guys as short rollers, okay? So then by the numbers, okay, in Champions League the last 2 years, this offense was the #1 rated offense in Champions League. Okay, the year that I was there, we basically had 0 stretch bigs. This year they had 1 or 2 bigs that could stretch the floor a little bit more. So even if you have a stretch big, you can still run this offense, okay? We led the Champions League in points per game the year I was there. They did the same thing this year. They were #1 in effective field goal percentage this year, 3rd last season, #4 in assists this year, #1 the year that I was there, and this is out of 32 teams. Okay, so with the offense, okay, it starts with transition. Okay, we want to play fast. Transition to us equals race, space, and pace. In transition, we want to put pressure on the rim to stretch and stress the defense. You want to think race, space, and pace. Race the ball up the floor to put pressure on the rim, stretch the defense with space and deep to the corners, and stress the defense by playing with pace in the half court. Okay, in this offense, the first big rim race is to put pressure on the rim. It does not matter if it is the 4 or the 5. The first big goes, make or miss, race the court. The guards look for hit-aheads to the bigs and wings racing. Wings race for corner threes with spacing. Pressure on the rim from the bigs racing opens up the corner threes. Then we want guards to push to score. Bigs rim racing puts pressure on the rim. Wing spacing to the corner stretches the defense and allows guards to push to score and keep pressure on the second line of transition defense. I like to use the term race 20, okay? We want to race the ball to the three-point line with 20 seconds or more on the shot clock. Late transition backets develop with miscommunications when the defense is under duress. Okay, the more time on the shot clock, the more time to get the ball side to side in the pick and roll motion offense to stress the defense. A big portion of this offense is to run multiple pick and rolls. What coach believes is this: everything is better run through pick and rolls. And if you force a team to defend 3, 4, 5 pick and rolls in the half court, their defense is going to break down. Most teams can defend 1 or 2 pick and rolls at a high level, but they're going to break down in that 3rd, 4th, 5th pick and roll. Also, if you're running your offense with 20 seconds, that means multiple players are touching the ball. And as we know analytically, when that ball goes side to side, especially with paint touches, you're generating high points per possession. Okay, so this is some video behind it, and this is what starts in the transition. Okay, first big, rim races. Okay, it does not matter if it is the 4 or the 5. It does not matter if it is a make or a miss. Okay, you'll see here on some of the makes, ball goes in, closest big takes it out, other big rim races. That's our 4 rim racing. Okay, that's our 5 at that point. Okay, you can just see here, bigs are racing the court as hard as they can. Okay, then guards look for hit-aheads. So a big thing that we want, okay, as soon as we get it, your guards catch it, and they're looking, okay, ahead up the floor. Their head is peeking over their shoulder to try to pitch that thing as fast as you can up the court. Okay, and that's where we generate a lot of rim attacks. You'll see he gets it. Before he even dribbles, he's looking to pitch it. So here, bang, catch, pitch. Not even dribbling. And that's what we want. We want those bigs racing, wings racing to the corner, hit-aheads. Now, if the hit-ahead rim attack isn't open, we're looking to try to get below the break threes. Okay, below the break, transition, off the catch threes are over 40% threes. And you can see how hard our guards are pushing. And we like to use the term race, watch here, race, really to paint a picture in the guard's mind, right? We don't want them running the floor. We want them racing the floor. Okay, then we want the guards pushing to score. So our bigs are racing, the wings are racing to the corner, And as you can see, it's stretching the defense, right? So we really want to stretch and stress that defense. And what we use is everyone to be a threat. So our guards are racing, looking for the hit ahead, looking for the corner three, stressing and stretching the defense and forcing rim attacks. We want our guards to be aggressive, okay? And then if the pitch ahead isn't open, the hit ahead isn't open, we want them to get to that three-point line. Now you'll see here, okay, Shelvin Mack is pushing the ball. He's looking to attack. He's looked for the rim runner. There's no rim runner. Look for the corner threes. They're taking away the corner threes. Now, he's at the three-point line with 21 seconds, and the reason why I've got this clip in here is so now it flows into the offense. They've done a good job, okay, of building their shell. 5 guys are back on defense, and so now Jerusalem has a mismatch in the post. We look to attack it, right? We can run our offense for 21 seconds, forcing them to defend you in the half court. Okay, and then now you'll see some clips, right, where the defense is back. They've got 4 guys back. They take away penetration, but look what happens. And so that's what we're looking for is late transition opportunities that develop because 4 guys have done a good job. They've gotten back. They've built their wall. They've communicated. Okay, they've built their shell, but someone's going to mess up. And so just because 4 guys are back doesn't mean that you don't race the ball up the floor. Look at that. 5 guys are back. They're tracking the ball. Okay, look at them. They're taking it away. Easy transition opportunity. Okay, because we raced the floor, there was a mismatch in transition. Okay, now you'll see here, 21 seconds. The ball's at the three-point line. 5 defenders are back. Late transition opportunity. Teams are still going to miscommunicate. There's going to be mismatches. When the defense is under duress, even though 5 guys are back, if you push that ball up the floor, you can develop easy opportunities in threes. This is the entire basis of the offense. Look how hard those guards push the ball up the floor. 5 defenders back. They go under on a pick and roll. Neutral 3 out of transition. Ball push, 5 defenders back. A little bit of space. If you've got good guards that can shoot the ball off the dribble, this is something we work a lot on in our skill work with our guards. Okay, we don't really want them taking step back threes, but off dribble, pick and roll threes, DHO threes, transition threes is done a lot in our skill work, and we consider those neutral threes. Okay, now spacing and floor balance. Once you race the ball up the floor with pace, okay, and spacing, your floor balance is typically going to be one of 2 things. Filled corner. So if our guard is racing the ball up the floor, no hit aheads to the wings, to the big is open, and it's a filled corner, we want him to push the ball up the slot. And what we want, you'll see in this diagram on the left, is we want the ball to be pushed to the slot, to the three-point line. And once the guard reaches the three-point line, that is the signal for the big to sprint over and set the pick and roll. Okay, and we'll get into the rules in this as well. Now, what Coach believes is this. On 80% of possessions, he wants a rescreen. So you'll see here, 1 can come off the pick and roll from 4-5. Okay, 4-5 lines up opposite the other big. Okay, he's going underneath the basket as the pick and roll is played. We ideally want the pick and roll played directly in the middle of the floor. As we all know as coaches, it's not always perfect. Now, if the guard comes off the screen, as you'll see here, 1 comes off the screen, 5 short rolls, we always have the option for the rescreen. So 1 will be inside the three-point line, 5 comes back for the rescreen. Now, if it's an empty corner pick and roll, the guard, instead of bringing it to the slot, we want to bring it below the 45, and your floor balance will be like this. Your 2, your second best ball handler will run to the slot. Your 5-4 will be running for the empty corner pick and roll. 1's got to bring it below the free throw line extended, below the 45. Your first rim running big is circling under the hoop to the elbow. And then your weakest player, this is where you can begin to hide your players and determine. You always want your weakest pick and roll player, your weakest decision maker, to run to the weak side corner. He's never allowed to be at the top. So this is what your floor balance, after you've raced hard in transition, it's typically going to flow into one of these two floor balances, and we'll get into how you play the pick and roll motion offense out of it. Okay, so high pick and roll rules. The offense can be started with a filled corner or an empty corner. The goal is for the ball to get to the three-point line with 20 seconds on the shot clock and then flow directly into the offense. So sometimes what teams do, they push the ball to the three-point line, then they pull the ball all the way out from the three-point line to set up their offense. And they end up running into their offense with 15 seconds on the shot clock. We want to race the ball to the three-point line, okay, looking for our early transition and late transition opportunities. And then if it's not there, we flow directly into the pick and roll offense. That way we've got as much time on the shot clock as possible to attack and stress and stretch that defense to try to force miscommunications and breakdowns, forcing them to defend multiple pick and rolls, okay? So we want to flow into the offense. Now, what you've got to tell your players is this: be a threat at all times. When the ball is in your hands or when you catch the ball, be a threat. You always have got to look at the rim, look at your rollers, look to attack, be aggressive. Okay, ball handlers rules in the high pick and roll. 1, no floor balance and spacing, meaning when you're pushing the ball down in transition, is it an empty corner? Is it a filled corner? Because that determines where you take the ball to. 2, set your defender up. You want to get to the three-point line, put pressure on your defender, make him guard you, and then have a little retreat dribble. That is the signal for the big to come get you. If you're not at the three-point line, if you're not setting them up, okay, if you're a little bit pressured, sometimes the pick and roll is run high, but we ideally want that pick and roll run directly at the three-point line, and that's the signal, the cue for the big to come set the screen. 3, look to reject the pick and roll. We want to try to reject the pick and roll every time. The reason why is this: 1, if you think of as coaches, the way that we build our pick and roll defense, for a lot of coaches, 100% of the time, for most coaches, 95% of the time, the way that you work on your team pick and roll defense is the ball handler using the pick and roll, right? How often do you practice what your defense is going to do when the ball handler rejects the pick and roll, what your rotations are? Even if you work on it 95% of the time in your practice, your defense is built upon the ball handler using the pick and roll, which means your rotations are built upon the ball handler using the pick and roll. So we want to look to reject the pick and roll, right? Because very few defenses are built for failure. 2, even if you play really good defense when we reject the pick and roll, you've now forced that defender to be below the screen, so you're set up using the pick and roll to create that space and to create that angle is better, because now that defender's got to play you honest, okay? 4, as that screen comes to you, have your head over the shoulder so you can read off-ball players, right? So when that screen's coming, you're taking a peek, head is over your shoulder. This is where you get a lot of quick hit threes, face cut layups, backdoor layups, slips. You always want to be reading the players off the ball and what their defenders are doing. Oftentimes, when that pick and roll is coming, right, teams build their defense based on trying to shrink or tag from a specific player. So oftentimes that player will creep in a little bit early, and you can take advantage of that. Okay. 5, know their pick and roll defense and personnel. Okay. So what do I mean is this: are they showing in the pick and roll? Are they dropping in the pick and roll? Are they trapping, flat hedging, switching the pick and roll? How are they playing their pick and roll defense? And then know their personnel. The guy that's coming up defending the pick and roll, is he a guy that's super athletic and long? Is he a guy that's slow, right? So you can attack him with speed. Is he active? Is he a weak pick and roll defender? Is he a good pick and roll defender? If he's a really good pick and roll defender, you may want to try to attack that short roll, get to a second side automatically. If he's a weak pick and roll defender, maybe you're being more aggressive. If he's a slow pick and roll defender, but he's still hedging, maybe you want to attack his hips with speed, right? So these things, the coverage and personnel determines your pace of play. So if they're dropping in the pick and roll, you may come off the pick and roll a little bit slower to get that guard on your back to hold them in the hostage dribble. If they're being aggressive, maybe you're coming off faster, right? Then 6, come off the screen to a tight turn. If you watch most guards that come off a pick and roll, when it is not aggressive pick and roll defense, their first step, if you look at their toes, their first step is to the sideline. They end up taking a wide angle. You want them to tight turn that pick and roll. You want their first step, their toes, to be to the rim, to put pressure on the rim, and also to not give the guard defender an angle to cut you off and square you up. So you want to tight turn that, okay? 7, when you come off the pick and roll, your eyes sell lies. Meaning this, if you're coming off the pick and roll and you're eyeing the roller, oftentimes that weak side corner defender is going to come off and you generate that kick out 3. If you come off the pick and roll and you're looking for the next man, whether it's the guy behind or a guy ahead, your eyes are selling it, that pick and roll defender, the roll defender, will relax and will open up that roller. So you always want to teach with your guard that's coming off the screen, his eyes sell lies. Look off the defender that you're looking at hitting, because oftentimes that guy is going to relax or make a mistake because he's trying to read your eyes. 8, create the advantage. Come off that pick and roll, aggressive, attack to get 2 on the ball. So offensively, you want to think all the time. Create the advantage, keep the advantage, use the advantage. Okay, so meaning you want to create the advantage, being aggressive, get 2 on the ball. Keep the advantage by getting off the ball once 2 are on it. Don't hold on to it. You should not be taking 3 dribbles as a guard. 1 to 2 dribbles max off that pick and roll. The advantage is created. You've got to get off it quick. Don't over dribble. Okay. Now, 9, keep and use the advantage. Get off the ball quick. Once you get 2 on it, you're getting off it or looking to score. Okay, screeners rules in the high pick and roll. 1, come without your man. It is your responsibility to get the guard. You determine their pick and roll defense. If they're trying to show, be aggressive, trap the pick and roll, it's your job to come without your man. Meaning, get into them, create separation. So when you're coming to set that screen, there should be 3 feet or 1 meter of separation if you're doing your job, okay? It is your responsibility to get the guard. 2, race into the screen. 3, know who you are screening for. What do I mean? Is the guy that you're screening for, is he a downhill guy? Meaning he's better at attacking downhill. He's not great at attacking laterally. He doesn't have the lateral speed, but he's really good at getting downhill. Maybe the angle of your screen is more step up, which allows him to play downhill and make decisions. Is it a guy that can really shoot the 3 off the bounce? Maybe then you're forcing the defender to go under to open up that pick and roll 3. Okay? So what is the angle of the screen that you're setting? What is the personnel of the guard that is playing? Those are really important, okay? Then 4, know the opponent's pick and roll defense. Coverage determines your pace of play. It determines if you hold the screen or get out of the screen, meaning this. If they are dropping in the pick and roll, you hold your screen a half second longer to force that guard over so your guard can now hostage dribble, right? You want to set that screen, force them over. If they're showing in the pick and roll or trapping the pick and roll, you want to get out of that screen quick, almost slip it. Do not hold the screen so you can create the passing line. There's too many times bigs don't know what the team's defensive coverage is. They don't know that they're showing a trap in the pick and roll, so they'll hold the screen and not get out of it quick. So that's really important in your scouting report and throughout the game to make sure the bigs know what the opponent's pick and roll defense is. 5, no moving screens. You can always miss and re-screen, okay? Don't get a moving screen. If you don't think that you can create contact without getting a moving screen, you just slip the screen, come back and re-screen. 6, know your role. Are you a hard roller or are you a short roller? Okay. 7, race out of the screen with space. Okay, you don't, if the guard is tight turning, you've got to take a little bit wider angle when you race out of the pick and roll. Now, you want to race to roll if you're a hard roller, roll for that deep seal if you're that hard roller, or if you're a short roller, race into the pocket. 8, read if you need to rescreen or second screen. So did that guard come off the screen? If he's holding on to the ball, you've got to come set the rescreen. If he hasn't gotten off it, it's an automatic rescreen. Okay? 9, if you catch off the roll or the short roll, it is your job to catch and read. Catch on balance. Any 2 quick passes beats any defense. It doesn't matter what pick and roll defense you play, 2 quick passes is going to beat that defense. 9, if you go second side, know your personnel. So if you catch it on a short roll and you're going second side, is that player on the second side a DHO guy or a pick and roll guy? If he's a DHO guy, you don't want to swing it and go set that pick and roll. You're dribbling to him. Okay? First big rules, the big that races the floor out of transition. 1, stay opposite the screener. 2, look for deep seals on backboard cuts. Oftentimes, his defender is going to relax. We want him to cut deep to that baseline under the backboard and punch in. 3, know their pick and roll coverage and your pick and roll personnel, meaning their coverage for the guy that's underneath the rim determines how high he lifts or the big that's setting the screen. So what do I mean? Let's say the big that's setting the screen is a short roll guy, or they're showing him the pick and roll, and he's a short roll guy, or trapping the pick and roll, and the guy that's setting the screen is a short roll guy. He stays underneath the defense. Let's say the guy that's setting the screen is a hard roller, and they're trapping the pick and roll, showing in the pick and roll, or switching it. The guy that's underneath the defense is now lifting to the elbow. So he's got to know what the defense is doing and what the screener is. Okay, it's very, very important. Okay. Now, 4, be on time, meaning you've got to lift to that elbow. You've got to be on time depending on the coverage and the personnel. 5, catch and read. If you catch it, okay, whether you're in the deep seal or you're on the elbow because you lifted, you've got to read the rolling big first, weak side corner, throwback, or second side pick and roll. 6, you race into the second screen. Corner rules. Number 1, stay in your corner. We don't want that guy to lift above the break unless it is specific tactical reason to attack a team's pick and roll defense. We want a max lifting up to the break. That way, if the player receives it on the short roll, he's not too high for the second side pick and roll. Okay? 2, if you catch it off a pass from the guard, so if you're in the corner, the guard plays the pick and roll, and you catch it off a pass, be ready to shoot. That is more than likely going to be a 40% 3. 3, if you catch it from a big, be ready to shoot first, play that pick and roll second. 4, know who you are. If you are not a pick and roll player, make the simple play. We want to teach our corner guys 3 basic pick and roll reads. Really important in this offense. Okay? Now, getting into the side pick and roll and wing pick and roll rules. For the ball handler, 1, try to bring it below the 45. Okay? We want to maximize spacing between the side pick and roll and the second guard for the high pick and roll. 2, be a threat to eliminate ice pick and roll defense. What do I mean? Be very aggressive. Very, very aggressive in this defense, okay, in this offense. Attack that pick and roll player, okay? 3, fight to turn before the elbow, all right? So you want to get the ball below the free throw line extended, below the 45, then be aggressive and turn before the elbow because the spacing off the high pick and roll, that defender oftentimes will try to jam it. 4, be ready for the early pass, easy pass. Second pick and roll ball handlers rules. The guy that's at the top of the key. 1, you start at the weak side slot. Create spacing for the initial pick and roll and then slide to the top of the key. 2, when you catch the ball off the early pass, easy pass, be ready to catch and rip. Okay, there's no setup required. Catch it off that pick and roll and go. Okay, the lifting bigs rules. Be on time. Know your reads on the catch. Are they icing the first on the side pick and roll, switching the side pick and roll, showing, or in flat defense, okay, on that side pick and roll? Are they denying the second guard? This determines what you do. Worst ball handler decision maker rules. Go to the weak side corner. Stay in that corner. This is your home. You read for cuts, and that's it. Okay, now I'll get to some video showing just the high pick and roll and side pick and roll, what your reads and options are. Okay, high pick and roll play. Okay, and make sure if anyone's got questions as we're going through this, feel free. You can stop me at any time and ask questions. Okay, high pick and roll players rules. So these are the reads we teach the guards. Okay, and you can kind of see throughout these clips, right? It's like different offensive sets sometimes that flow into the high pick and roll, or it's the motion. Okay, so his rule, number one, reject the pick and roll, be aggressive, try to get to the rim. This is literally the teaching tape we'll try to show our guys. Okay, so there, reject, okay, pass. But be aggressive on rejects. 2, use the pick and roll. Okay, first option you're looking for, bang, pick and roll 3. And you got to get your guards really good at your setups, right, and making that shot. We consider that a neutral 3 for us. Okay, 2, when you use the pick and roll, be aggressive, get downhill. Look to get to the rim. That's a set play that flows into the offense. You can see the 4 starting to cut underneath the defense. Okay, that strong side corner, you can generate a lot of 3s. So you can see here, Amari's coming up to set the screen. He's got to be, Tayshawn's got to be opposite. Okay, we look for that roll. Okay, early pocket pass. This is a set play into the offense. Hard roll finishes. But so as you can see, the high pick and roll floor balance, okay, obviously this is ideally a little bit more in the middle, but is more or less going to finish high pick and roll, big, coming to the strong side dunker. Okay, and what that does, it opens up that early pocket pass all the time. And what you got to get your guys really good at, and the biggest portion of this offense is big to big. You got to do it a lot in your skill work. You got to drill it a lot, but working on these big to big decisions and passes. Okay, now high pick and roll when you're using the big underneath. Okay, so you'll see here, this is 2 big. So we've got Amari Stoudemire, Josh Owens. Both are 5s, okay? So if you got 2 5s, this is a perfect example of it. Now, Amari's the first big down. He's going to come underneath for that deep seal, okay? And you got to work on that easy punch in for that deep seal layup. High pick and roll. Second pick and roll. Okay, so this is with our 4, 5s underneath. Punch into Amari. Go to work in the post. This is a set play. You'll see flows into the floor balance. Okay, set play. He's racing to this corner to now open it up. Okay, so now this is what you see. And what you got to get your guys really good at, okay, is being deep to that dunker, right? And then you can teach them all of the dunker reads for deep seals, swing through step finishes, post-ups, kick-outs, passing. So here is deep in the dunker, big to big. So we drill this all the time in skill work, and we'll get into the skill work portion of it. There you can see really good. I'll rewind it. Really good deep seal. I see it looks like a lot of questions are coming in, Teddy. Should I be answering these?
Continue first with this one, and then.
Okay. So here you can see, right, deep seal, right? And that's, look at his positioning, and that's a big portion of the offense because this guy in transition, what he tends to do is relax. And so you can get that early seal and then bang, big to big. And we drill this in skill work from the start of the season, basically, and I'll get into it, but with the coach playing pick and roll with two bigs and having those guys play as a tandem, that is the big key to the offense. Having bigs that can decision make is more important than almost the pick and roll players. And so
okay.
Yes?
There's a question. Do you sacrifice the guard's ability to get to the rim by flashing the strong side dunker?
Sure. So if I would say, especially coming into the season in Jerusalem, I thought, okay, number one, like, we're playing without a stretch big. This is going to be tough. Two, that big will be in the way on penetration. So I thought that was going to be a big problem. As you see in the clips, it was not a problem for us at all. And there's two reasons behind that, okay? One, and we'll talk about this, things that you got to do in skill work. One, you got to get the big, and I'll kind of run this clip and show it real quick of things you got to do. Okay, this is aggressive pick and roll defense. So you see the way that he's lifting up. But you got to get this guy really good at reading what their pick and roll defense is and what he should do. So now let's say this is Jacobian Brown. He comes off the pick and roll. He's penetrating. He's got to read the penetration. And what will oftentimes happen is this guy will stay high. And if you get him really good at going deep to the dunker, right, you get those little dump off passes for the layup. Okay, so and that kind of happened a few clips ago. Two, what you get, if you get the guys tight turning, so coming off to the middle of the floor, you've got to get them really good at fighting to get to the midline, right? So getting here to finish to put this guy in indecision. After you hit the dunker for a layup, oftentimes he'll kind of stay with the dunker guys who generate that layup. And I'll point it out throughout more clips that happen. But you've got to get your guard really good at short penetration shots, so finishing right here instead of always at the rim. You got to get this big at really good at reading when penetration happens. And it's something that you got to drill all the time. But once you get your guys good at reading it, you end up getting a lot of dunker finishes, or that defender stays with the dunker guy and it opens up the layup. Any other questions?
We have another question. When first pick and roll is being played, do you think the opposite side big who is underneath the basket should seal or stay in the dunker spot?
No, so he's looking to come strong side. So and which we'll see a few more clips of it. But what we want is this. We want the pick and roll played. Let's say they're not showing or being aggressive in the pick and roll. So the pick and roll play, we want this guy to deep seal him because that's going to open up layups. So when you're talking about him being in the way, and you'll see it in some clips later, I'll point it out, you can get a lot of this guy deep sealing him and then the guard coming off the pick and roll and getting easy layups off it. So the first look is always for this guy to deep seal. Now, if the deep seal isn't there or they do a good job getting over, then he's got to flatten out to the baseline or lift to the elbow depending on what the pick and roll defense is.
Coach, you have another question. How do you want the screening angle? Parallel to sideline?
So ideally what we want is this. We want his butt to this corner is the ideal way to basically force everyone over the top of the screen. So this angle is not ideal, but we knew that they were showing on the pick and roll every time. So basically we want him to get out of the screen. But the ideal angle is that we want his butt to this corner.
Thank you.
Any other questions, or should I continue?
You can continue, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, so now this is a perfect example that goes into two things. One, 2, 3 have got to know what their pick and roll defense is. Okay, so Dijon, we knew coming in is going to show in the pick and roll.
Amari is a hard roller for us, so his responsibility is to lift to the elbow. Now, he stays a little bit high to create that early passing line, that C pass, that triangle pass. So you'll see here, Amari gets out quick. Okay, he's lifting to the elbow, right, to try to generate that passing line. And so now on that catch, you can see him. He's reading, and his eyes actually do a really good job of selling that corner three, which, I don't know what just happened. Sorry. Okay, which open up that big-to-big pass. But it's really important that you get these guys, okay, very good at making those reads. This is a set play that'll flow into it. Now you'll see here, pick and roll, okay. We look at the elbow. Tayshaun should be hard rolling on that throw ahead, big to big. Okay, good job getting to the three-point line in 20 seconds. Okay, now this is actually against zone defense, which we'll see some clips, attacking specific type defense. But you can just see big to big decisions. And you have to drill these decisions. Okay, now this is high pick and roll with re-screen reads. Same thing. We play the pick and roll. First option, once you play the pick and roll, reject the pick and roll. So there you see the big. He's doing a good job being in that dunker. So look, you can see him. And what you've got to get your guards, your bigs good at, right? He starts. He's tied opposite. They're in a tandem. He goes to play the pick and roll on the reject. You can see him start to go underneath. He comes back. He's always got to be opposite the big because we care more about opening up the roll. Now, you see the guard's penetration. Okay, so he's here. You see him start to take that step back. Okay, so on that penetration, if the ball handler would have gotten deeper, you see him step up, watch this guy here on the baseline. He takes that step back. He's starting to get deep to that baseline to open up that dunker, catch, sweep through, finish. Okay, pick and roll. Set him up. Rescreen. He looks to go under on the rescreen. As I said, we drill that a lot with our guards. Now, using the rescreen. Okay, pick and roll happens. Aggressive pick and roll defense. Rescreens are really good. And the mentality behind the rescreen is this, right? Let's say you've got a good pick and roll defender, whether it's the guard or the big or both. You want to make them guard multiple pick and rolls. Most of the time, they're going to play good defense on the first pick and roll. But if you make them defend a rescreen, right, a lot of times a weakness will happen. You'll see them get caught up on the screen the second time, or the big will overextend, whatever it may be. Okay, so here, pick and roll. Okay, rescreen. First option, shot. Okay, this is a set play. First pick and roll. They do a good job cutting it off. Rescreen. Now, if you see here on the penetration, and this is something you'll see in the skill work, if I had to put one thing on the offense that I don't like, is sometimes this big gets caught up. Right, so we rescreen. Tayshaun lifted up here on the elbow. So he's out of position. And if you look at the spacing, it's not ideal. Right, so what you really got to drill is this guy getting good. Now, as he's lunging, he should be cutting to the hoop, which you actually get a lot of layups out of. But two, what you got to get your guards good at, okay, and what you'll see in this, and I'll show later in the skill work portion that you got to do. Pick and roll is happening, okay? He should now be going back under. If we're not throwing it ahead, he's got to get back down to the dunker. Watch James Feldine. He starts looking at his toes. They're at the rim. He starts fighting to get back to the middle. Now, this is a big portion in your skill workout. We call this ball pickups. You got to get really good. Your guard's really good. Watch how he picks the ball up when the defense slaps down. He brings that ball high and over. Now, that's a big portion in this defense or in this offense that you got to get your guards good at is ball pickups to help eliminate part of that problem. Now, okay, first pick and roll happens. It's a DHO. We consider that a pick and roll. They do a good job. Aggressive. He short rolls, comes back. Now he gets cracked on that screen. He's forced to go under, opens up that roll. And so we really try to have a tactical mindset of rescreens when we know teams are going to be really good pick and roll defensively. So here you'll see Bomberg, okay? Attacking Bomberg, we knew they were a good pick and roll defensive team. They were very good on the first pick and roll. So first pick and roll defense, they short show, right back. Now he allows Amari to get behind him on that second pick and roll. And so we came into this game, you'll see a lot of it here, automatic rescreens. Okay, so first pick and roll. Sorry. Okay, so this is about where we left off. So you want to mix in rescreens as a tactical way to attack the opponent. Okay, so once again, this is Augustin Rubit. We knew he was a really good pick and roll defender. Bang. First one does an excellent job. Look at him. His excellent technique drop. Really good. So we rescreened him. Now watch him. He's going to overextend. He overextends now. Okay, a little bit of legal screen, but he overextends, opening up the roll. And so this was a specific way we wanted to attack him. Same thing. Elias Harris overextended. But this is a big portion of the offense, rescreens. There's using that big and that deep dunker. Okay, now the empty corner side pick and roll. Okay, one of the most important things is the angle you play this at. Now, this is something my season there, guys didn't do a great job of. They started to get better. It's something you got to drill all the time. Okay, playing this empty corner pick and roll, we want free throw line, ideally deeper. Ideally, you want it here. Okay, but still your first read, reject the pick and roll. And on the side pick and roll specifically, okay, when you're looking to reject, right, what you'll see you get a lot of is this. Okay, so here we're playing the pick and roll. The angle's a little bit high, okay, but the side pick and roll is coming. He's at the top of the key. The big on the side pick and roll lifts early to the elbow. So what you get a lot out of off the reject is this. The natural inclination is for him to be the low man. You get this little shovel dive pass finish. You get that a lot when you reject the side pick and roll. And same thing, you want to drill it. Now, an example in transition. Okay, this side pick and roll is too high. We want that lower, but because this guard isn't here, it's not as congested. And as I said, especially on the side pick and roll, you got to get these guys really good at playing inside the elbow. The reason why is this big lifts up early. This is jam spacing. So that's why you want that pick and roll deeper so there's more spacing for the guard to come off the pick and roll. And I'll show you some clips where we do a good job of it. Okay, same thing because it's out of transition. It's empty corner. The height of the pick and roll is okay, but ideally we started to drill these guys and we'd show them in film, bring this deeper. Okay, on side pick and rolls specifically, we work a lot on floaters. Now, the angle of this pick and roll is pretty good. Okay, it's still not perfect. We still want that a little bit deeper. But if you see, he tight turns it. And what ends up happening, teams will try to deny this and keep this guy to clog up the paint. And so what you can get a lot of is this easy throw ahead to the elbow for that elbow jumper or second side pick and roll with the top guy or second side pick and roll with the corner guy. But here he kind of stays home and gives up a layup. Now, this is perfect. Yeah.
What about against a switching D? The non-screening big. What do you want him to do?
I'm going to show clips against it.
All right. Thank you.
I've got a section against switching defense. Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Do you ever corner pick and roll if the corner guys caught the ball but is not shooting the tree? So it's a corner. Do you ever run corner ball screens?
Meaning, yes. Yeah. So, like,
Yeah.
we'll see. This is just the high pick and roll inside pick and roll. And then I'll show clips of what the motion becomes, how the offense evolves.
All
So
right.
this is all just your first reads out of the offense.
Okay.
This is
Got you,
this
Coach.
is literally how you teach the offense, and it starts in your skill work in the preseason. This is how you teach the offense on your high pick and roll and your side pick and roll, your rules for each, and then you'll see when you combine them. So I'll get into it. Okay,
All right.
so this is the ideal way you want to play out of transition. We're aggressive. He looks to attack. Look where he plays the pick and roll below the 45. So now it opens up the spacing. He comes off it, okay, opening up that early empty corner roll. Same thing. So this is where I was telling you where your set plays can flow into the basis of the offense. This is sideline out of bounds. Okay. Flows into your side pick and roll to high pick and roll. Okay, same thing. Baseline out of bounds. You can see side pick and roll. Look at the angle. Secondary pick and roll player. Good angle of where the screen is. The big is coming underneath the defense. Okay, now this is where we will get into how the motion evolves. Once you've learned how to play, how you want to play the high pick and roll, you've taught your team the rules behind it, you've drilled it in your skill work, you've drilled the side pick and roll, what your base is. That's the base of the offense. Now you combine it to get to the pick and roll system, the motion offense. Okay, so now as you're going into it, what's really important is this. The system, the motion offense, the system is above everything and everyone. The system is the way of life on offense. Okay, there's no personal agendas in this offense. Okay, no personal agendas. Everything is about the system. You trust the system. You believe in the system. Okay, the system is built to withstand any defense if the players respect the rules. You want to show in the pick and roll, trap the pick and roll, flat hedge, drop in the pick and roll, switch the pick and roll. You want to play zone defense. This system is built to withstand any defense if the players respect the rules and trust the system. There is no room for personal agenda, okay? You have to know your role in the system. The system is built to maximize a player's strengths and minimize a player's weaknesses. You don't want to show what you can't do. Keep it simple. Meaning, if as a big, you are a hard-rolling big, you're not a good passer, not a good decision maker, you do not short roll in the offense. You always hard roll, okay? You have to know your role. Your goal is to create the advantage, keep the advantage, use the advantage. You never stop the flow of the offense without a tactical reason. If the ball stops, the advantage stops. So that's where I'm saying. The system is above everyone. There's no personal agendas. You want to make players, guards and bigs, defend in multiple pick and rolls. The system will find the weak pick and roll defenders if you allow it. Now, I got to work for two really high-level coaches in Hapoel Jerusalem. Simone Piangiani was an Italian coach. He went to 2 EuroLeague Final Fours, won 6 straight titles in Siena, won a title in Jerusalem, won a title in Milano. Okay, super successful, was the Italian national team head coach. The way he wanted to play tactically was to specifically attack players in the pick and roll. He would find them and attack them. The way that Oded wants to play is trust the system. Because you're playing 3, 4, 5 pick and rolls in the same possession, you're going to find the weak pick and roll defenders. The offense will find them. Don't stop the flow of the offense. Don't just put the ball in one player's hand so the ball isn't moving, the ball isn't touching. As we know, the more players that touch the ball on offense, the harder and more engaged they will be on defense. And so that's Oded's mentality, Coach Karash's mentality is the system will find the weak pick and roll defender. So don't ever stop it, okay? Make them defend multiple pick and rolls. The system will find the weak pick and roll. Okay, and then the last thing with the system, all of your plays can flow into the system. Half-court sets, baseline out of bounds, sideline out of bounds can all be designed into the flow of the offense. Now, this will be the motion offense, okay? So this will be how everything combines. Okay, so now, high pick and roll is played. Okay, you hit the high pick and roll, the pop, the short roll guy. Okay, so now we've seen all the options, the big to big. This is what happens when you start to go second side. Bang. Rescreen. Short roll, corner three. And so this is now how the offense builds into the motion. You'll see where it builds up, where the second side pick and roll begins to be played. Okay, you hit the short roll, hit the pop. Bang, second side, look for the catch and shoot three. Now you look for the drive. And this is how the offense builds. Pick and roll, short roll, second side pick and roll. So high pick and roll, side pick and roll. You'll see it here. And so what I talked about, ball pickups, right? So, and we'll see this a little bit later, but especially off the side pick and roll. And that's why it's so important, the angle that you play. You really want this below the free throw line extended. You got to get your guys really good and patient at playing that deeper. Okay, so now ball pickup. Watch the hesitation because this becomes a little bit crowded, okay? This becomes a little bit crowded. So you got to play it deeper, but you also got to get this guy good at ball pickups. Watch how he hesitates. This guy kind of releases, and it opens up that layup. But this is the system. High pick and roll, side pick and roll, back to the high pick and roll. So now 3 pick and rolls have been played in the same possession. So 1 pick and roll, 2 pick and rolls, 3 pick and roll, okay? And you get a lot of that swing back, which you'll see. Now, the second side system. Okay, so now you play the pick and roll, and the big from underneath the defense lifts. So you don't hit the short roll. Okay, let's say you got a hard roller. How do you get to the second side with a hard roller? Now you hit the lifting big, you go second side. His first option, DHO keep. So bang, you got the throw ahead, second side, DHO keep. So now this is how you get to the second side when you play with a hard roller. 1 pick and roll played, 2 pick and roll played. You keep the flow. And now you'll see how it builds. And it really becomes hard for these guys. And what you can determine in your scouting, does a team struggle with empty corner pick and rolls? Okay, if so, you want to play the high pick and roll first and try to attack them on that empty corner pick and roll because they'll try to hide their weaker pick and roll defender, right, on that second side guy. And so now you can here just see the flow. That's actually against zone defense, which I'll show clips of attacking specific defense. This is against switching defense, or someone asked, in which I'll re-show the clip. right? But I've got a small segment against switching defense. But here is switching defense. Okay, they switch the high pick and roll. We throw it ahead. First read, look at the big on the high-low. Second read, is this guy coming off the corner, kick out three? Not there. Watch how we keep the flow. This is what coach is talking about. We don't want to kill the flow. Pick and roll, usually this guy's going to relax because he thinks he's done his job. Now we seal him and get that deep seal. But that's how we attack. Now, the side pick and roll. If you play the side pick and roll first, okay, how you get into the flow, right? This is actually also against switching defense. Side pick and roll, we begin to build the flow. Side pick and roll, throw ahead. Second side, he's actually a little bit out of position. He should obviously be at the top of the key. But every offense isn't perfect. You can see. Now, this is a perfect angle for the side pick and roll. Look how deep he is. Okay, they switch that. Second screen, they switch that. Keep the flow, attack the switch. That was a little bit more matchup zone. This is against zone defense. And once again, I'll show specific clips. But how do you play against zone defense? Watch the offense. Just keep the flow. Everything is about the flow. Okay, side pick and roll. High pick and roll. Back to second side. Good angle of the side pick and roll. High pick and roll. And you can just see where teams struggle to defend multiple pick and rolls in the same offense. Okay, now, using the system to attack the defense. Okay, number one, like I told you, let's say you've got guys that are really good catch and shoot guys. Okay, and are one dribble, two dribble max guys. This is a really good offense for them because you can hide them in the corners. With this offense, you generate a lot of corner threes. As we know analytically, the best three is the catch and shoot corner three. Well, this offense organically creates a lot of those shots, okay? And so we'll get into how does the offense generate corner threes? How do you attack aggressive pick and roll defense, okay, using throwbacks? How do you attack teams that ice, blue, down the side pick and roll? How do you attack switching defense? How do you attack zone defense? Okay, so this is how we do it. Now, you'll be able to visually see how we generate corner threes. Okay, first screen happens, teams that try to tag off the corner man, kick out three. Okay, skill work, you got to drill that with your guards. Okay, now, you'll see it, same thing. They try to tag, and oftentimes, especially when you play the side pick and roll first, right? So what ends up happening is this. He played the side pick and roll first. Watch Scotty Wilbekin, the defender. He relaxes to be in position almost for a tag, and it opens up that drop-down corner three. Okay, hit ahead. Watch here. Watch the same defender, what I'm talking about. His natural inclination, right, is to shrink and pull in on the three. He thinks it's a loaded side. So this is where the offense messes up the defense all the time, right? Because he's a high defender, right? It looks like it's loaded. He begins cutting underneath. It takes away a two side. He begins to pull in to tag. Short roll corner three. And you get a lot of those short roll corner threes. Watch, it'll be right here. He's going to stay high, pull in to tag the roll. Corner three. Side pick and roll to what would be high pick and roll. His defender stays high. Corner three. Side pick and roll. High pick and roll. Side pick and roll. Now off the penetration. Watch his defender. Stays in. corner three. You get a lot of kick out corner threes with this offense. So it's really good if you got catch and shoot guys that aren't great penetrators, that aren't great pick and roll guys. Now, let's say you're playing against a team that traps or shows in the pick and roll. Watch how aggressive, okay, they are. They show once, okay, one screen. They show twice, two screens. Now, 3 times they make them show, look what it creates. And so teams that are really aggressive in the pick and roll, we go into it attacking them with the mentality of we are going to re-screen them to death. We're going to make them hard show on 2-3 pick and rolls to wear down the big. Now, they might do a good job on the first show, on the second show, but big guys can't show in the pick and roll 3 times, number one. 2, especially when you get them in the third and fourth quarter, you've worn those big guys down. So you'll see here, how do you attack? Watch. They show. Okay, quick rescreen. Okay, he starts to roll. Big guy recovers. Second time, he's out of position to show twice. Okay, this is a good setup here. Watch him try to reject the screen. Forces honest coverage. Really good. We want him to reject. They show in that pick and roll. He holds the ball. Look at him recover. Now he's out of position to show twice. Overextends. Opens up that short roll. Corner 3. Hard shows. Now he's out of position. And so this is really important on our rescreens. So what we want on the rescreen ideally is this. Okay? We want him to get to that elbow and get away to come back and set that second pick and roll. Now what ends up happening? Okay, when teams are showing in the pick and roll, and because this guy is underneath, and you'll see the indecision, right? Most teams, when you show in the pick and roll, this is the guy that's going to come over, right? He's going to come over and help off the show. So they show in the pick and roll. We throw it ahead. He's getting ready to help. Bang. He's worried about this throw ahead on the second side. And you'll be surprised, because of the floor balance, how much it hurts teams that show in the pick and roll. Now, let's say a team is being ultra aggressive, and this is really good against teams that are denying. They play very good defense on the first pick and roll. They cancel the screen. They get through the screen, or maybe they're trying to weak the pick and roll or ice it. So here you'll see, okay, the pick and roll is played. They do a good job. Look at his aggressiveness in the pick and roll. Okay, we've got no advantage. So we work a lot on throwbacks. There's no advantage. It's crowded. There's no spacing. So you'll see him throw it to the big and then chase it back. Now, the natural inclination by the guard defender is to relax, right? Once he passes the ball, he sits in the paint and relax. Throwback, bang. Look at the separation coming off that screen 3. Same thing. You'll see it here. Okay. Aggressive defense. He has nothing. He passes. Look at him. Turns his head, relax. Chase it back. Coming off it. Bang. Get to the hoop. So we work a lot on throwback, chase back, pick and roll. So here, pretty good pick and roll defense. Watches defender, relax, come back, bang. Opens it up. And that's the seal off that we talked about to drive for the layup. Pick and roll, nothing there. Throwback. And so this is part of the rescreen. This is really good, okay? Really good. Right? They're trying to ice the side pick and roll. He relaxes. Bang. Trying to weak it, hide it. Now, same thing, attacking ice defense. Big portion of that. We also use throwbacks. So for teams that try to weak the pick and roll, or ice the pick and roll. You'll see here, Scotty Wilbekin is trying to weak it, right? So we hit the big. What does he do? Turns his head, loses contact. We chase it. Solved. Here they ice it, throwback, relaxes, chase it. Okay, same thing. They try to ice the pick and roll. We hit the big. He relaxes. We chase it right into the same motion. They weak the pick and roll. Second side. Now attacking switching defense. This offense is really, really good. Okay, so I this year in the G League, I began to put the offense in training camp. I'm such a big believer of it. Even you got to stretch big, no stretch big. Okay, I had to put the New Orleans Pelicans offense in. I also began to put this offense in training camp. What I quickly found out is my players could not remember the Pelicans offense. Okay, so there was no chance to put this in. But what I did do is I put this in specifically to attack switching defense. Okay, so we put it in. This was our main way we wanted to attack switching defense. And then I also began to put it in as a set play the last 2 games of the season before it got canceled to attack specific pick and roll defense. But it is very good to attack switching defense, and I'll show you why. Okay, let's say you play the first pick and roll, they switch it. Okay, the big lifts, anytime you play against switching defense, you know they're switching. The big that's underneath is going to lift to the elbow. First read, high, low, deep, ducking, deep seal. Okay, second read. This guy will oftentimes help off the corner. You got that kick out 3. Not there. As I said, the system is above personal agendas. We don't want to stop the flow to attack the switch. So we keep the flow. We keep the pressure on them. They can't triple switch out. Okay, you'll see them relax. We get that seal on this side. If you attack switching defense with this flow, you will get this deep seal on the third side every time. Every time it's going to be there. Okay, now, same thing. Watch. Pick and roll. They switch. Okay, he's got the deep seal on the duck in from being the first big down. This is textbook. This is perfect. Okay, the way he's screened, he's got the big behind him. That's what we want. He's got the guard behind him. Sorry. He catches. We keep the flow. Now they switch the second side pick and roll. We throw it ahead, high, low. Perfect. Now watch this. Switch the pick and roll. Throws it ahead. He does a good job. High, low, seal. Okay, and this is one thing we want to work on all the time with our bigs. Reading, decision-making. What is this guy doing? How is he played? And what this guy does on the catch, especially against the switch. We drill this in our skill work. Catch, reading, on balance. Look where his eyes are, right? His eyes, he knows right away it's there. Kick out 3. And so when people talk about attacking switching defense, I think specifically in America, right, and a lot of times even in Asia, in my experience from coaching in China, coaching in Korea, is this, is you try to attack the switch with 2 players. You're trying to attack the switch when the big is on the guard, so that guy wants to attack it, or when the guard is on the big. I think in Europe, what they do such a great job of is you attack the switch with 3, 4, 5 players. The team is attacking the switch. So here the pick and roll is played. Right now, watch him. Right? He's worried about this switch. He's worried about the high-low. Okay, he begins to pull in. He's in indecision, worried about this high-low. Look at him. Kick out 3. And so now attacking the switch, you've got 4 players that are involved. Okay, and here they switch they switch the side pick and roll. So right here, bang, switch. Okay, deep, deep seal. Obviously, great big-to-big pass. That's the way we play out of it. Now, I prefer personally, and this is the way that I attacked it, when teams are switching, you know they're switching, I prefer to run the side pick and roll first, right? Because then that opens up a better high-low angle, and it keeps them from trying to triple switch or scram out. So here, you can't really triple switch this angle. It's too far, right? Especially when he seals them. So I really like to attack the switch off the side pick and roll first. Okay, now attacking zone defense. You'll see, okay, side pick and roll, high pick and roll, middle guy begins to come out. The wing is coming out trying to attack that. Bang, bang. And so in general, and this is what, like, this was Oded's philosophy when attacking zone defense. Number one, zone defense doesn't exist. His whole mentality is zone defense is not real. And if you run this offense, right, and I'll show it multiple times, if I just stop and freeze frame, if I were to tell you right now, okay, if you take a look at them, are they in zone defense or are they in man defense? Right? If you start with this floor balance of high pick and roll, deep corner, deep dunker, the way that they have to defend it, if you freeze frame it, it looks like they're in man. Okay, number one. Two, most teams, because you're setting 3, 4, 5 pick and rolls against the zone, really how well do your players understand your zone defense rules and how you are defending side pick and roll to high pick and roll to side pick and roll, middle pick and roll, wing pick and roll? Really, how well do they understand the rules, especially with the baseline cutter? Okay, so here, this is matchup zone defense. Okay, right there, bang, the way that we're playing, attacking them, you can just see us keep the flow. The way that they were playing us in the cup is through a matchup zone. Now, you'll see here, and will, okay, zone defense, first pick and roll, side pick and roll, third pick and roll. Finally, they break down. And this will just be a bunch of clips. And so I think one of the advantages of this offense is you have to get your bigs really good at decision-making, right? Catching off the high post, whether it's off the short roll or the big lifting, catching and shooting, catching and reading, catching and passing, big to big, weak side corner. Well, how do we attack a zone? How do we teach to attack a zone? You would teach that guy, right? Most teams, most coaches are going to teach, right, catching it in that high gap, having a high post big, hitting that high post big, allowing them to make a decision. Well, now when teams try to zone you, your bigs are great at high post decision making. And so I'll just kind of let this go. High pick and roll. Side pick and roll. High pick and roll. High post flash. Big to big, deep down in the dunker. And because you've gotten your guys so good at playing through the motion against man, the same concepts work against zone, right? So you don't have to put in a whole new zone offense. How do we want to attack zone? What do we want to run? Just look at the concepts. The concepts work the exact same against zone. You can just see over and over. Just look. Look how confident they are in the flow. And at the end of the day, most zone defenses are going to break down, okay? This is the last portion of it, and then we'll get into, I'll be happy to answer any more questions anyone has. What's really important in this is the player development. It starts in your training camp, in your preseason, what you do all year long. All of your player development flows into this system, okay? And so how does your player development start? And so, I was in charge of player development in Jerusalem, okay? I had to try to design the different ways that I thought was best to get the bigs and the guards really good at it. Obviously, being Oded's system, Oded had what he wanted to work on, what he thought was really important. Okay, so number one, you start with one-on coach, okay? Whether it is with the guard or the big, you build the setups. So for the bigs, it's the setups and how to come without your man into the screen. For the guards, it's the setup for the pick and roll, because the setup into the pick and roll is everything, right? Most guards don't do a good job in their setup. You got to set your defender up to really be a high-level pick and roll player. Two, it's the angles. So your angle coming off the screen, if you're the guard, the angle of your screen if you're the big. And then it's the skills, right? So if it's one on coach, right, getting them good at the different passes for your guard, your pocket pass, your hook pass, the pass against the show, the C pass, the weak side corner pass, right? You've got to get them to throw perfect passes. Your bigs off the short roll. So you do it one on coach with the big off the short roll and the big in the dunker. And if they can't throw strikes, perfect passes to you, they're not ready to advance. Once they're ready to advance in the skill work, and also during this time, you're building and finishing, right? So one on coach finishing, all the different types finishes, the angles, the contact, the quick finishes. And I got video to kind of go through it. Then the second thing you're doing is you're building your positioning. Guards and bigs have to work in a tandem. So you take the one versus coach and you build with the teammate in the same position. So we would build the coach playing the pick and roll with the big setting it and then a big underneath the defense. And so now the first big sets the pick and roll and we go through all the options, right? So hitting the big on the hard roll, then the hard roll and big, hitting the other big in the dunker. So that big to big pass. Hitting the hard rolling big for the finish. Hitting the short roll big for the high low. Hitting the big that lifts and seals underneath to the big that's hard rolling or the big that's short rolling. And so we work on all of those big to big reads in a tandem with one versus coach. And we drill it, and they've got to make perfect decisions. And then we do the same thing with the guards, right? The guards making the right read off the pick and roll with the coach getting it and playing that second side pick and roll. Then we go two versus coach. So now we've got two coaches playing against the two bigs. And so now when that big short roll, say you hit him on the short roll, he's got to properly read the other big that's guarding the guy underneath the defense. So he's got to read that coach, and obviously it's mock defense, and that's how you get them good at decision making. You make them read the coach, right? And then when they get good at reading the coach, now you begin to build 2-on-0 combo, mix the guards and bigs together to build the chemistry of the pick and roll reads and the re-screens. So you got one guard playing the pick and roll, one big setting the pick and roll, and you build the chemistry of the short roll, the pocket pass, the hook pass, the re-screen, the throwbacks. That's how you build the chemistry. Then you go two versus coach combo. Now you're forcing the guard and the big to play in the pick and roll against two coaches, and you're forcing them to make the right reads and throw perfect passes. If they can't make the correct reads against the coaches in the mock defense, they're not ready to advance. When they make the correct reads, now you build 3-on-0 combo. And you also begin to build 2-on-2 live. So let's say you go in 2-on coach combo. They do a good job with the right reads. Now you go 2-on-2 live, guard big, right? And you work on the early pocket pass, the hook pass, getting it to them, the throwback, the re-screen, right? And you determine the defenses, how they're going to play so they make the right reads. But you begin to play live, 2-on-2, and you play a lot of it to get your guards and bigs good at those decisions. Then you go 3-on-0 combo, two guards and a big, right? And you have the first guard play the pick and roll, hit the big, the short roll happens. Now he's spraying it out to the second side, getting into that decision-making, what your reads are, your DHO keeps, your kick-out threes, etc. Then you go 3 versus coaches if you've got 3 coaches, right? Or you've got 3 versus 3 mock defense. You're determining what the defense is going to do, and they've got to make the right reads. A big part of this offense is drilling decision-making in your player development. You've got to get them to read the game, right? It's really important. And they've got to throw strikes. They've got to make the right read, throw the right pass that leads to the open shot. When they get good at that, you go 3-on-3 live. 3-on-3 live. Okay, force the offense to make the correct reads against live defense. Then you go 4-on-4 live. And once you get to 4-on-4 live, it's 2 guards, 2 bigs. You leave the weak side corner, right? You leave the weak side corner. And I will say in practice, the way that we played more 4-on-4 live than 5-on-5 live. So we would do 4-on-4 in practice all the time. because basically you got to get those 4 guys at making the reads. You don't really need the 5th player. And so here are some of the skills that go into it. Okay, so if you're doing your 1-on-0 skill work with your bigs, okay, or your 1 versus coach, your 2 versus 2, anything that you're doing, this is the read for the bigs that you want to drill. Okay, number 1, short roll finishing, even as a warm-up. So you drill both sides. Okay, here, bang, short roll, catch, attack. And so when you want to work on it in your skill work, you have this guy be a coach with a pad. And this is where you begin to work on your creative finishes. Contact finish, right? Little bump off finish. You'll see here, short roll, pick and pop, shot fake attack, bang, watch here, little extended finish. And so this is where you mix in all the skill work that you want to do with your bigs, shot fake finishes, quick finishes, contact finishes. You mix it into playing off the short roll. Now, let's say you got a big who's a good 15-foot shooter, okay? Screen, rescreen, short roll jumpers. Now you got your short roll finishes. They catch, bang, getting into those left-hand finishes, really important. And we'll drill these different finishes like you saw here with Josh Owens. Okay, so Josh Owens could not, all he could do was catch and dunk. He could not make a left-hand layup. So like every day before practice, we do short roll finishes. And you'll see this, like this was such a proud moment. He catches it, and we would work on left foot, left-hand finishes. And so that's a skill work portion that translates to the game. Now here you'll see, watch this. Watch the way he finishes. So you work on all your creative finishes out of the offense. Screen, hitting the big, throwback, screen, rescreens, quick finishes, inside hand finishes. Little short finishes. If you got bigs that can make those little touch shot floaters. Okay, so what do you do when they play good defense against a short roll? Bang, you catch. Now you turn it into a post up. So you can get to a lot of your post moves out of it. Second side, catches it on the short roll into a post up. So that's how we build. When we work on post moves, we do it out of this. We work on finishing, we do it out of this. Now, here's some of the decisions that you drill. Okay? Short roll, bang. You got to hit him. Coach hits him off the short roll. Now, let's say you're doing big and guard together on a tandem, right? So this can be a coach. You hit the big on the short roll. You got your other coach guarding this guard on a tandem. Does it come all the way off him? Bang. Kick corner 3. Okay, kick big underneath the defense. However you want to do it, you do it out of what the decisions will be in the game is how you drill it in the skill work. Short roll, catch, read, kick. And you notice our bigs do a really good job of catching on 2 feet. He catches, rescreen, catch, bang, under control, kick out. And so you have to drill these passes, this decision making. Now let's say you got the guy in the dunker, your first big down. First thing you got to get him really good at, deep seals. Deep seals for a few reasons. Okay, 1, for them to get the layup. And you just work on deep seals, holding that seals, and we tell them don't worry about 3-second calls. So there, bang, deep seal, finish, layup. 2, you want to create opportunities for other players, right? You get those deep seals, you open up driving lanes for guards, or you get kick out decisions out of it. So there, we seal, he holds off, guards are getting to the rim. It's one of the things that opens up the driving lanes for the guards. Look at the deep seal here. Okay, so now that driving lane is much more open. So you got to work on all of this in your skill work. Like I said, we do it 1-on-0, 2-on-0. Look how deep to the baseline he is. And so this is a perfect example. And so the way that we'll work on the dunker guys, we'll have the coach just play this pick and roll, and the guy that's in the dunker just goes side to side with him. And you got to get them good on really on the re-screens. But watch here, first pick and roll. And we'll literally have it with two coaches. Set the screen, go underneath the defense to work on the timing, be flat to the baseline, and then we vary the finishes. So if he catches, this could be a left-hand hook finish. It could be a step-through finish. Okay, here he goes through, opposite, finish it on the reverse layup. And so we drill all the different finishes out of the dunker. Sorry. So dunker decision making. So here we got the deep seal, and we drill this. Hit them. Read the defense. And we try to do as much as we can of drilling the decision making with coaches first, or if you got youth players, we make the youth players come in and play mock defense. Okay, now for the lifting big. Let's say you got to, I put that in there. Let's say you got to stretch big. You can still run the offense with the stretch big. You actually get a lot of threes out of him being able to lift. But let's say you like the 15-footer, the lifting big, same thing. We drill them lifting into catching and shooting. 2, lifting, reading, attacking. Catch and attack. Be aggressive. Be a threat. Okay, then sometimes guys feel like they can play off that elbow into a face-up or a post-up. So we work on that. Then we go decision-making. Is he reading the roll, reading the weak side kick out 3, going to the second side? He lifts, he catches, reads. Okay, now DHO keeps. Good part to get your guys working on ball handling. And this can be really effective. It's very difficult to guard that high pick and roll, bang, DHO keep to the second side. So then you might want to work on your keep. What's your read if they play good defense? So you go for your keep. They play good defense. Now you turn it into a post-up. So same thing, we drill it. We drill when they play good defense on the keep, how you turn that action into a post-up. Okay, now some of the guard skill work. Okay, and this is the last video. Number 1, pick and roll setup. Watch the setup here. He goes to attack, forces the defense to play him honest. Notice how he steps back to create the separation. Okay, looks to reject, attack. So pick and roll setup, still first option is reject the pick and roll. Look at him backing down, opens up his hip like he's going to play the pick and roll, rejects it. Does a good job playing defense. This is the ideal perfect setup. And this is what we teach our guys. So I want you to see, he's backing him down to get a good angle. Watch how he opens up his hips. Okay, look at the way the defense is playing. He's not really forcing him in the screen. He rejects it. Okay, they play good defense. Now look at the angle of the screen to open it up. Okay, better angle opens it up. And so we teach all these different setups, and we drill the setup every time the guy plays the pick and roll. So here, this is a different setup. And you can do this, okay, off the bounce or out of triple threat. So here, this would just be bringing him down out of transition, attack, making him guard. Now watch, he goes between his legs. Look at the hesitation, look at the setup, and then going. And so that's different pick and roll setups you want to work on with your guys. So he goes to attack, bang, set up with the crossover, open it up. Now, then we begin using how we want to attack off the setups. So we work on our setups into rejecting the pick and roll. So we'll work on in the skill work, setup, reject the pick and roll, finish. Reject the pick and roll, get on the rack. We do it from the side pick and roll, from the high pick and roll. We'll also do it preparing for how our decision-making will be, how you play the pick and roll. I told you we drill this a lot, pick and roll, threes versus under. So a lot of players, what do they do after practice? They make 50 catch and shoot threes. What we have our guards do is different, okay? We have them make catch and shoot threes, but let's say they want to make 50 threes. We do 25 off pick and rolls, 25 catch and shoot, okay? Especially a lot of slide downs to the corner. But we'll do it off breaking it down into segments. Wing pick and roll, okay? Going from left to right. High pick and roll each way, then other wing pick and roll. So we do 4 segments, and we'll say, okay, we're going to make whatever, 6 threes off the dribble going each way. Okay, and so we really work a lot every day on pick and roll threes for guards. It's how you get them good at it. Okay, so pick and roll threes versus under. Pick and roll threes when their defender gets caught on the screen. Now, we also happen to have really good guards that were good off shooting off threes. And same thing in skill work. This is just a perfect example. Everything we do on skill work, and so this is a perfect example. This goes for guards and bigs. So we'll do it with the guard. If this is a coach, and this is the big. Same thing for this big. Off our rescreens, we drill. First pick and roll, he's opposite. Rescreen, we'll make the guard do rescreen into the pick and roll 3. So everything we want them to do in the game, we drill. And skill work, skill work, skill work. I believe working on this in your skill work, giving them the right reads, giving them the right decision making and the right acquired skills is going to do 2 things. 1, your players are going to buy into the offense because they're working on their game. They're working on their skill, their game. And how many times your players are like, I got to work on my game. So you're accomplishing them getting really good at your offense, your system, the reads that they have to make while developing their individual skill. And all of these reads apply to them becoming a better player regardless of what system they play in. And it applies to them owning your offense. Now, one of the most important parts in your skill workout, teaching ball pickups, because sometimes the side pick and roll, they don't do a great job of getting it below the 45, so it's bad spacing. Watch the ball pickup. Here, watch how he goes low, okay, in his ball pickup. So you got to teach low ball pickups, bang, little hesitation, low ball pickup floater. Getting your guards really good at those short floaters off ball pickups. Now you'll see a hesitation ball pickup. So watch here. Comes off, hesitation, bang, ball pickup. And so this is something that's super important for your guards. Okay, and then this is where you work on your finishing, right? So any finishing you want to do with your guards, the way that I would do it is this, okay? If I knew a team was icing a pick and roll, dropping in a pick and roll, showing in a pick and roll, these were your reads for your finishes. Okay, there they're dropping, bang, same foot, same hand. Now here, watch the high finish, high off the backboard. And you can just see you can incorporate all the finishes you want to work on with your guards. Okay, then passing, decision-making, lobs. You get a lot of lobs. You got to get your guards really good at throwing these lobs. So this becomes the combo skill work. having the guard come off at the big for the lob. And so now you can do it a few ways, right? And so this is just an idea for your skill work. Guard big combo work. Guard comes off the screen, bang, throws this lob, sprints back out, plays a second pick and roll with you as a coach, shoots the pick and roll three. So both guys are getting shots. Same thing, roll passes. And this is where you begin to teach them, right? Their eyes sell lies. And you got to teach. And so the way that I would drill it, okay, during the season specifically, I would do combo work, guard big. Okay, listen, they're going to be trapping the pick and roll. Big, this is your read. Guard, this is your read. And we work on all those passes in our preparation for each opponent. And we do it specifically with our strong hand and our weak hand. But we work on early pocket passes, shot fake bounce passes, selling the pass fake bounce pass to the high pass, weak hand hook passes. We drill all of this in our skill work and what will be their reads for specific opponents during the season. But I think in general, especially my development is my background is player development, that you have to incorporate decision making in all player development. Okay, it doesn't matter what you do. At the end of the day, the guys have got to acquire the skills, and this gets back to this slide. They've got to acquire the skills 1-on-0, one versus coach, making the right skill pass. Then they got to get the right read with decision making. So that's the end of the presentation.
We got a few. We got a lot of questions actually, but most of them you were able to answer. But we got a question from Coach Carlo Atienza. Since you're running the offense, what's the best defense against it?
So I think one of the hardest defenses to play against, and if teams want to watch, 2 seasons ago, our second game against Tenerife, we played Tenerife in the Champions League top 8. We really tore their pick and roll defense apart in game 1. They did a good job adjusting their pick and roll defense in game 2. I think if you play a very good discipline drop defense, NBA style, where you're trying to solve the pick and roll 2-on-2, it's probably the hardest to play against. But the way that you attack it, it's the same way. When teams drop, like when teams would drop us, the way that we would attack that specifically is play the high pick and roll. They're in a deep drop, so we were automatically going to short roll you, hit on the short roll, swing it to the second side, empty corner pick and roll, sprint into that pick and roll. And what ends up happening is most bigs, when they have to defend 2 pick and rolls in a drop in an empty corner side pick and roll, when they play that side pick and roll because they're sprinting over, they shade more to the guard coming off because they're late. They're not in perfect position where they're splitting the guard and the big. They shade more to the guard, which opens up an early pocket pass dunk to the big. I would say we had 1 game where teams really defended us well, and that was Tenerife in the second game, and that was out of 60 games that we played. And even then, I think it was more so our guards didn't do a good job of making the decisions. Some of our guards were injured. I think for most pick and roll defense, it's just hard to guard because at the end of the day, offense is always ahead of defense. And if you get your guys really good at reading the system, it's just hard to guard. But you also, that being said, you have to have really good players. You got to have good players in any offense that you run. If you got shitty players, listen, it's not going to take you. If you're the worst team in the league, you're not going to become the best team in the league if you got the worst fucking players in the league. It doesn't work like that. As everyone knows, it's the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's. But it's a great offense to have with specific personnel.
Coach Zach, what was your question? Hello, Coach Zach?
Yeah, thanks, man. Hey, Ryan. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Ryan, great stuff. Question for you. Maybe you covered this, but I just want a little bit of clarification. Coming out of the high pick and roll, starting with the high pick and roll, how do you kind of get to that second side with a deep seal? Can you clarify that for me just for a second? Just high pick and roll, the guy deep seals. How do you get to the second side? Does that guy eventually lift up to the elbow, or how does that happen?
So it can be a few ways. Let me end my screen share and I'll draw it up. Okay, hold on one second.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so now let's say you're playing the high pick and roll. This is the 5 coming to the screen. Let's just say your 4 starts here, and you're playing the pick and roll. Actually, I'll switch it. I'll put the 5 for the deep seal. Okay, so now we play the pick and roll. He comes over for that deep seal. Can you see that? Is it clear?
Yeah. Yes.
Zach, you can see that? Okay, so we got a few
great.
options here on the deep seal.
Yes, I can. Yep.
Okay, so a few options on the deep seal. He's going to short roll, so you hit the 4 on the short roll. And now he's going to go second side with the guy in the corner. Okay?
All right. Yep.
Now that's first option. Your second option, let's say it's a deep seal. The guard goes. Okay, so now let's say it's a deep seal. The guard penetrates, and he doesn't hit the deep seal, and he doesn't have anything. He automatically retreats. The 4 comes back into the rescreen. He comes back underneath. Now you hit the 4 on the short roll this side, and you play the pick and roll this way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right, great. No, that makes a ton of sense, Ryan. Great stuff, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you, Coach Zach, for the question. All right, Coach. We're just about the last 2 minutes in our presentation. We'd like to thank you again. I know there's a lot of questions, but you're able to answer most of them, and I'm pretty sure.
I'm going to screen share real quick, just so.
Okay.
Just so everyone has my email. Okay. If you got questions, like I said, if you want this entire presentation, all the videos, everything I have on it, this is my email. Don't hesitate. You can shoot me an email at any point. I also have, for any coaches that want it, like I said, I've got about 70 gigabytes of offensive breakdowns of coaches all over the world, from Brad Stevens to Zeljko Obradovic, Šarūnas Jasikevičius, Aaron Fern, who's up next, the big Fernie. Okay, so I'm happy to send all of that stuff for any coaches that want it. And I also have an email that I send out every few weeks with new breakdowns of top international sets that I've seen. So if you want to get on that email list, just email me. I'll answer any questions. Anything.
Be sure to subscribe on his YouTube channel. We've got to learn a lot on his YouTube channel. And we're going to post also in our Facebook and YouTube channel as well, his YouTube channel. Again, thank you so much, Coach Ryan, for your time, and for the attendees. I know we have to log off, but we're going to be on right away with Coach Aaron Fern. Any parting words, Teddy, for Coach Ryan?
Coach Ryan, thanks for sharing all of your basketball knowledge with us this evening.
Absolutely. I really appreciate the opportunity. Stay tuned in for Aaron Fern, because he's as good of a coach as I've been around.
Thank you so much, Coach. And, for our last session, we'll be with Coach Aaron Fern in the 2 minutes. All right, stay safe, everyone. Coach Ryan, stay safe, and God bless.
You.
Thank you.
Take care, Coach.
Thank you.